there. Today we're going to be working on number 4, monomial and polynomial notes. We're going to learn how to simplify monomials. So you've done these two pieces before, you just haven't done them together as one set, so that's what we're going to work on today. The first thing we're going to talk about is product of powers. Product means you need to multiply, and when we're talking about multiplying monomials, we're going to multiply our big numbers or our big in size numbers. And then you're going to add the little numbers, or the little in size numbers, not in value. Okay? Quotient means divide. So when you do a quotient of something, quotient of powers, you're going to divide the big in size numbers, and you're going to subtract the little ones. Remember that when you subtract, you're going to take the big number. So when I talk about big number, it's going to be the bigger value number in your exponents, and subtract or minus the little in value number. And it goes where the bigger one started. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so let's look at this first one. So when these are all in a horizontal line like they are, that means we're multiplying. You don't see, like, if we're going to divide, you're going to have that division bar in between. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply our big numbers. When I'm talking about big in size, so that 3 is bigger than your other 3, 5, and 7. So it doesn't have anything you can multiply it with, so that 3 is just going to stay a 3. And then with that, we're going to look at our powers, and I always go in alphabetical order just so I don't forget any. So I'm going to start with my m's first. I have an m here and an m there. That first one is m to the first power because there's not one being shown there. And then I have m to the fifth. Well, when we multiply, we add those. That's going to give us m to the sixth power. So m to the sixth. And now I'm going to look at my n's. I have n to the third and n to the seventh. Again, we're multiplying. So when we multiply, we actually add the powers. So 7 plus 3 is 10. So that's going to give me n to the 10th. And that's what we're looking for to simplify that first one. Let's try simplifying number 2. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do my big in size number. I have a 6 and I have an 8. I'm going to multiply those. 6 times 8 is 48. And then I'm going to do my letters. I'm going to start with my x's because those come first. So I have x2. That first one is an x to the first power. And my second one is an x to the second power. 2 plus 1 is 3. So this one's going to be x to the third power. Now I need my y's. I have y to the fifth and y to the 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. So it's going to be y to the 13th power. Okay, so we simplified number 1 and number 2. Let's look at number 3 and see how that one differs. Okay, when you look at number 1 and number 2, notice all your powers are inside the parentheses. When we look at number 3, we're going to look at this little 3 that's on the out. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. This little 3 that's on the outside. Okay, because that little 3 is on the outside, we're going to take what's on the inside and write it 3 times. So I have a negative r to the fourth, s to the second, and I'm going to write that 3 times. So negative r to the fourth, s to the second, and one more time. Negative r to the fourth, s to the second. Okay, remember if there's no number in front of your letter, it's really a 1. So I have negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. That's just going to give me a negative 1. So my big number is going to be a negative 1. And now I'm going to go in alphabetical order. So I'm going to start with my r. I have r to the fourth, r to the fourth, and r to the fourth. So I'm adding 4 plus 4 plus 4. And that's going to give me r to the 12th. And then I have s to the second, s to the second, s to the second. That's 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's going to be s to the 6th. So we simplified that one as much as we can simplify it. Okay, let's look at number 4. Okay, again, I have this power of 2 on the outside. That means everything on the inside, I'm going to write 2 times. So I'm going to have 3x to the 5th, y, and then z to the 3rd. And then one more time, 3x to the 5th, y, z to the 3rd. Okay, I'm going to take my big numbers in size. So I have 3 times 3, and that's going to give me a 9. And then I'm going to go in alphabetical order my letters. So I have x to the 5th and x to the 5th. That's going to give me x to the 10th. I have y and y. There's no number on those, so each of those have a 1 on them. So that's y to the 2nd. And then finally, I have z to the 3rd and z to the 3rd. That's going to give me z to the 6th. Okay, so notice all of these were going vertical. They're going like across the side. Or not vertical, sorry. They were going horizontal. All those were horizontal. Number 5 has a vertical, meaning I have one on top and one on bottom, and you have that like fraction bar in the middle. That means you're going to divide. We're going to do it kind of the same way. So we're going to look at what our big in size number is, and this time it's a 4. That 4 is going to stay a 4 because there's nothing I can divide it with. Remember when you have that fraction bar, you're dividing. There's nothing I can divide 4 with, so I'm just going to leave that a 4. Okay, now I'm going to go in alphabetical order. My B's come first. So I'm going to highlight this B and this B. And the first one on top is B to the 1st because there's no number, so that's B to the 1st. And then I have B to the 4th. Remember when you do these, you take your bigger one, B to the 4th, and subtract B to the 1st. So 4 minus 1 is 3. Because your B is bigger on the bottom, it's going to be B to the 3rd on the bottom. And now I'm going to do my ends. I have n to the 6th and n to the 3rd. I'm going to take my bigger number, which is 6, and subtract 3. So 6 minus 3 is 3. And it's going to go where my bigger one is. So because my n to the 6 was bigger on top, my answer, my n to the 3rd, sorry, it wasn't bigger on top, it was bigger on bottom. My n to the 3rd is going to go on the bottom. Okay, let's look at this last one on your front page. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is write my equals. So I have a top and a bottom. I have 36, and I want to divide it by 4. When I take 36 divided by 4, that's going to give me a 9 because my 36 is bigger on top. My 9 has to go on top. Now I'm going to do my first letter. So letter in the alphabet is A to the 4th and A to the 7th. They're top and bottom, so I'm going to subtract them. But take your 7 and subtract your 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. So that's going to give me A to the 3rd on the bottom. And now I'm going to look at my Z's. I have Z to the 3rd and Z to the 1st. That's going to give me a Z to the 2nd when I subtract them. Because my Z to the 3rd is on bottom, I'm going to put my Z to the 2nd on the bottom. And that's going to be it for number 6. Okay, so let's look at the back side. So when we do the back side, what we're going to do first is simplify by dividing. Then you're going to write the expression out the number of times of the power. And then you're going to simplify by multiplying. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is do any division that we can do. Okay, so when I'm looking at this one, I'm going to say equals. Okay, 2/3, my big numbers. I have a 2 and I have a 3, and we can't change those. We're going to leave those as 2/3. We can't reduce those at all, so they're just going to stay the same. And then I'm going to go in alphabetical order. My M comes first. So I have M to the 5th and M to the 3rd. Because they're top and bottom, I'm going to subtract, and that's going to give me 2 left over. My M to the 5th is on the bottom, so now my M to the 2 left over is going to be on the bottom. And then I still have this P right here, P to the 2nd. That was on the top. There's nothing that I can change that with, so that's just going to stay the same. Okay, so we first simplified by dividing. We did step number two, or sorry, step number one. Number two says we're going to write this the number of times that the power is. Because it's raised to the power of 2 on the outside, I'm going to write it one more time so it's shown 2 times. So I'm going to have a 2p squared 3m squared. Okay, now we're going to do just like what we did before. If they're big numbers and they're going straight across, we're going to multiply. So I have a big number 2 and a big number 2. So now my number is going to be a 4. 2 times 2 is 4. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom with my big number. I have a big number 3 and a big number 3. When I multiply those are going to turn into a 9. So my fraction now is 4/9. Okay, now I'm going to look at my p's. I have p to the second and p to the second. Because they're powers, I'm going to add those. That's going to give me p to the fourth. So I'm going to put that p to the fourth, and it's just going to stay right where it's at. And then finally, I have my m's. I have m to the second and m to the second. Because those are powers, I'm going to add them, and I get m to the fourth. And as long as you did all of your simplifying inside your parentheses first, then your final answer should already be simplified, so you don't have to worry about simplifying it again. Okay, let's look at number 8. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is simplify on the inside of there. Okay, I have a big number 8, and that's the only one. It's on the bottom, so I'm going to put an 8 on the bottom. And then going to go in alphabetical order. I have x to the fourth and x to the seventh. I'm going to take 7 minus 4, and I get 3. Because that x to the seventh is its bottom, I'm going to put x to the third on the bottom. And then I have my y to the second, and y without a number, that's going to be y to the first. 2 minus 1 is 1. So y to the first is going to go on the top because y to the second was on the top. I'm going to take all of this, and I have to write it my exponent number of times. So I'm going to write this 4 times. So I already wrote it once. So here comes my next time. Y to the first, 8x3. I got y to the first, 8x3. And one more. Y to the first, 8x3. Okay, those are all simplified, so no matter what my answer is, it's going to be already simplified, so we don't have to simplify it again. Okay, I'll notice on the top, I don't have any big numbers. So I just have y to the first times y to the first times y to the first times y to the first. We're going to add those powers, and I get y to the fourth. Now I'm going to do my bottom. I have this 8, which is big, times this 8, times this 8, times this 8. So make sure when you're doing this, you're doing 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. And if you did that, you should get 4,096. So on the bottom, I have 4,096 to start off with. And then I'm going to do my powers. I have x to the third, x to the third, x to the third, and x to the third. These ones, because they're power, we're going to add them. So 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 more is 9, plus 3 more is 12. So that's going to be x to the 12th. So this is already as simple as it's going to get. Okay, let's look at number 9. Okay, we're going to do it the same way. I'm going to get my fraction bar going. I have big number 5 and a big number 6. We can't change those. Those are just going to stay 5, 6. And I'm going to look at my powers. I have x to the 5th and x. If I subtract those, that's going to be x to the 4th. It's going on top because that x to the 5th was on top. And then my other power is this y. I don't have any other, or sorry, not power. Other variable is that y. I don't have any other variable y, so that's just going to stay a y. And then that says, once it's re-simplified, it says I'm going to write it 2 times because of that 2 right there. I'm going to put this in parentheses. I'm going to say 5x4y over 6. So I did it one time. Now I have it another time. Now I get to just go ahead and fill in. So I'm going to start with my 5 times my 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do my 6's too. I'm going to do my 6 times my 6. That's going to give me a 36. Now I'm going to do my variables. I have x to the fourth and x to the fourth. 4 plus 4 is 8. It's on top, so it's going to be x to the 8 on top. And then I have just a y right here and a y right here, so it's going to be y to the second. And that was on top, so it's going to stay on top. All right, your last one. Let's simplify what we can. First thing is I'm going to do equals and my fraction bar. My bottom, I only have a big 2 on the bottom, so I'm going to keep that big 2 on the bottom. And now I'm going to go in alphabetical order, starting with A. I got A to the 5th and A to the 1st. If I subtract those, that's going to give me A to the 4th on top. And then I have B to the 8th and B to the 3rd. If I subtract those, that's going to give me B to the 5th. And that's going to go on top as well. And then I'm going to look at my power. It's all raised to the power of 3. So I'm going to write all of this 2 more times. I wrote it 1 time, so let's get 3 total. So I have A4B5, 2. That's 2 times. A4B5 over 2. Okay, I usually like to start with my big numbers. So my big numbers are these 2's. So 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. So my bottom number is going to be an 8. And then I have A to the 4th, A to the 4th, A to the 4th. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 more is 12. So it's going to be A to the 12th. And then I have B to the 5th, B to the 5th, and B to the 5th. It's going to give me B to the 15th. There you go. You have everything you need to work on assignment number 4.